What is up, guys? Welcome to Pro Fight Picks. My name is Valentin, and today we're gonna take a look at the UFC Fight Night Cannonier vs Gastelum card, which takes place on August 21st. And today we're gonna take a look at the main card. So let's not wait any longer and let's jump into the fights. Let's start with the first fight of the main card. In the first fight we got Alexandre Pantoja fighting against Brandon Royval. So Alexandre Pantoja has a victory over the current champion Brandon Moreno actually. And in the last fight he was defeated by Manil Cape by decision. So what can we say about Pantoja? Pantoja is a versatile fighter, who is actually equally good on the feet and on the ground. He has pretty good grappling skills and a solid punching power. Never in his career did Alexandre lose inside the distance. So moving on to his opponent, Brandon Royval. So under the UFC banner, Royval had a total of 3 fights. In the first 2 he won by submission, and in the third he lost to Brandon Moreno by technical knockout. So both of these fighters met with the current champ. So Royval's base style are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. Brandon is very good on the ground. He actually won most of the fights by submission. On the feet, the American also works confidently. Besides that, he also holds the punch very well, which is always a good strength to have. In terms of the prediction, Pantoja seems to be the favorite of this confrontation. He's more experienced than Royval. Besides that, he slightly surpasses him in all the components of the battle, in all the aspects of the fight. I think he's a little bit better. If there is no significant mistakes made on both sides, I believe that Pantoja will take the victory by decision in this fight. So I pick Alexandre Pantoja to win. Moving on to the next fight. In the next fight we got Vince Pichel fighting against Austin Hubbard. I'm pretty excited about this fight. I always love Pichel fighting. So always sad for me that he doesn't fight that often, he usually fights like once a year or so. I wish we could see him more often inside of the octagon. So let's talk a little bit about him. What do we know? Prior to joining the UFC, Pichel had a record of 7 wins and 0 losses, which is good, In the UFC, he earned 6 victories and earned 2 defeats. Now he's actually on a series of 2 fight win streaks against Roosevelt Roberts and Jim Miller. Pichel has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but based on his fights we can see that he relies more on his stand-up skills. He actually even earned most of his victories by knockout, and however, here's the little thing. Even though most of his victories are by knockout, he has only 1 KO in the UFC. Moving on to his opponent, Austin Hubbard. In the Ultimate Fighting Championship promotion, Hubbard made his debut in May of 2019, having won 3 fights as the same number of defeats during this time, so he basically went 3-3. Austin finished his previous fight with a win by decision over Dakota Bosch. Hubbard is a versatile fighter with a decent wrestling base, but to be honest, without any outstanding skills, meaning that he doesn't really have any trump cards up his sleeve. He can be effective both on the ground and on the feet, but at the UFC level he is not really able to compete with top 15 fighters. Vince Pichel is rightly considered the favorite in this pair, He looked decent in the last 2 fights, although, as I said before, he only appeared in the cage once a year. Pichel should dominate this fight in all the aspects, but, this fight will definitely not be a one-sided beating. Austin Hubbard will also have local successes at some points. However, most likely outcome seems to be a victory for Pichel by decision. I pick Pichel to win by decision in this fight. Moving on to the next fight, we got the heavyweight matchup here. We got Parker Porter fighting against Chase Sherman. Should be an interesting fight to watch, especially I'm kinda curious in Sherman's performance, especially after that Andrei Arlovsky decision loss. So let's talk about the Porter first. Porter made his UFC debut last August, having a 10-5 record. Parker lost the first fight at the UFC by KO to Chris Docus, and then defeated Josh Parisian by unanimous decision. What can we say about Porter? Porter is an all-rounder, and he actually wears a brown Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu belt. He's moderately successful on the feet and on the ground, but he lacks a concrete jaw or impressive grappling skills. Almost all of Parker's defeats actually were inside the distance. So coming back to Sherman, returning to the UFC last May, Sherman knocked out Ike Villanueva and then lost by decision to Andrei Arlovsky, as I said before. So Sherman is a strong striker with good kickboxing skills. He confidently works on his feet, and what's important, he has a powerful one-time punch and won most of his fights by KO. More than half of his defeats were also inside the distance, and in all cases actually by KO as well. Chase Sherman's punching power should be the defining factor in this confrontation. Porter will try to keep a safe distance and try takedowns, but Sherman needs to get one of his bombs to the chin faster, and that will end the fight. So I picked Chase Sherman to win by KO. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we got Clay Guida fighting against Mark Madsen. Interesting fight. I'm super curious to see how Clay will be able to perform. He's a truly a veteran of the sport. He's been in UFC forever. He's been in MMA forever. In UFC, he's been fighting since like 2009 or something, right? He had 30 fights in the UFC, Clay Guida, scoring 16 victories. Even though, everyone can say that Clay's best years are long gone, but I believe he's still able to compete with strong opposition. And we even saw it. In the last fight, Guida defeated the equally experienced Michael Johnson by decision. What can we say about Clay? Clay's base wrestler with a very rich skill set. He does not have a powerful one-time punch, but he works very confidently on the feet. On the ground, Clay is effective, but most often he loses by submissions. And everyone can be envy of his endurance, especially for his age. The man is 39 years old. And in the cage, he always tries to work as the first number, always putting pressure, trying to overwhelm his opponent with strikes. Constant pressure. That's super surprising at his age specifically. Looking at his opponent, we got Mark Madsen, who debuted in the Ultimate Fighting Championship in September of 2019, defeating Danilo Biluardo by TKO. In March last year, Mark defeated Austin Hubbard by decision, and he did not fight since that. Madsen is a base, high-class wrestler. On the ground he is most effective, although not everything is perfect in terms of his grappling. In his arsenal, Mark has a powerful blow that brought him several knockout victories. If Madsen's stamina does not fail, I feel like he will deal with Guida with the help of his superior wrestling skills. The stand-up can remain behind the more active American, so I believe in the stand-up exchanges, I think Guida will, get the win in all of these exchanges, but only in the first half of the bout. In striking power, the dominance will be on the side of Madsen, but he is unlikely to initiate the exchanges in a standing position, because I think that he understands that it's not smart in this fight. Most likely Madsen will submit Guida in the second half of the fight or take the victory by decision, so I pick Madsen to win by submission or decision. If it's gonna be a submission though, I think it's gonna be like second or third round. And finally, the main event of the evening, Jared Cannonier fighting against Kelvin Gastelum. So at the time of signing with the UFC, Cannonier's record was 7-0, and in the UFC he won 6 fights, suffering 5 defeats. Since November 2018, Cannonier has fought in the middleweight division, having won 3 fights by KO and getting 1 decision loss to Whittaker. But we all know that there is no shame in losing to Whittaker, the former champ. He's the man, great fighter. Cannonier is a versatile fighter who tends to work on his feet. He has good boxing and kickboxing skills, as well as a solid knockout power. On the ground, Jarrett does not work often, but he effectively defends against takedowns, which is a great skill to have, especially if you are aiming at that belt, at the title. On the ground, he might get in troubles. However, as long as you can defend those takedowns and stay on the feet, then you can do your work there. He actually suffered 2 stoppage losses in his career by KO. Moving on to Gastelum, at the UFC he had 19 fights. He actually won 11 of those fights and lost 7, and 1 was declared no contest. In the last 5 fights, however, Kelvin had gained only 1 victory. Kelvin Gastelum is a base wrestler and wears a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. On the ground, Kelvin knows how to be effective, but more often he prefers to fight on the feet, relying on his punching power. Now, I feel like Kelvin is going through a recession in his career, and he's unlikely to qualify for title fights, unless he beats Cannonier. This is a very important fight for Kelvin. I would even say it's a very important fight for both of them. It's whoever wins gonna move to the title picture. Top fighters have long known how to find the key to Gastelum, and if Cannonier claims that he's ready for the title fight, I believe he should be confident enough to pass Kelvin. Jarrett will work from long range. I feel like, he gonna try to stop Kelvin with his jabs, and periodically he will throw the significant strikes. Gastelum, as always, will pressure the opponent in his usual manner, from time to time launching his trademark bombs that can turn your lights off if they connect, So I would say in this fight much will depend on Kelvin's stamina, but Cannonier's victory by decision, in my opinion, is seen as the most likely outcome of this fight, so I pick Jarrett to win by decision. Let me know what are your thoughts and picks for this main card. Even if you want, you can still write your preliminary card picks here. Make sure you check out the preliminary card picks video if you did not before. Thank you very much for watching the video. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more weekly videos. I'll see you guys soon.